So,
And I'm someone who's kind of, has a little bit of the perfectionism that you have to, I need to come over, overcome, or also just some of the different emotional stuff where I'm critical of myself more than even others. And
mhm,
so, um, one of the things I feel like having an experience like that reminds you that, like, even some of the mistakes you've made were to put you on the path to get to the right spot for this to happen. And
sure.
so, try to learn from things, but don't like beat yourself up or be overtly negative. The world has enough judgment in it. You don't need to be your harshest critic internally,
Yeah. You know what Yeshua
So
has always taught me? Jesus has taught me that, or helped me remember, because we're just remembering. Our teachers are helping us remember that there's really no mistakes. There's just decisions, and
yeah,
there's no really right or wrong decision. It's just one may be more challenging than the other, and
yeah,
and more perhaps, and like you said, that there was a reason why that decision was made, so we could learn from it some way.
G-
Some of us, it takes a little bit longer to learn things, but
yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like my guides call me the pokey puppy because sometimes it takes a little while, but
takes a few
it,
times
it,
around the track.
yeah.
I hear
uh,
you. I hear you.
what
Um,
we, you were saying earlier though that about Yeshua, Jesus coming in a lot for people right now, and
yes. Hmm.
I've definitely had that coming up myself in the last few weeks, but then even just in the last year or two with all these energies, really through COVID, I feel
Yeah.
like he's been helping leading the charge, supporting people,
Yeah,
through all of
totally.
these changes and challenging times. Like one cool story that I have just about
Hmm.
like how synchronistic life can be. Like if you're looking for signs, we always end up finding what we look for. So make sure you're looking for what you want and looking for the good stuff. Because I really do believe like life becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy so often. And as I've gotten better at realizing like, okay, I am part of God. I am a powerful God. I am a master manifester. As I've used my words and my intentions to like create and manifest things in my life, it's really amazing and borderline like magical when they start instantaneously happening because you're such in such divine
Yes.
harmony. It
Mhm.
starts like happening. You're like, did I just do that? Like, holy crap! It's amazing. So, specifically to Jesus. So about 6 months ago, I I've always because of like different like my own personal beliefs against like the Catholic Church and different organized stuff. There's lots of parts of my life when if you ask me about Christianity, like I said, hey, Jesus is great. I'm sure the angels are great, but like then I turn around and trash Christianity and like the organized religion aspect of it and the control system of church. I would sit there and bash it. Okay.
Mhm.
And so even when I was a little kid, like because my dad kind of didn't like the church and they had experienced different judgment and different things when they were young in church. And so I just really had a bad thing and for church. And um I guess where I'm going with all this is about 6 months ago, last year, but specifically 6 months ago, I had where Jesus was really coming up for me. And I kind of felt like, you know what, Jesus, hey, I feel really bad. I said so much bad stuff about your church and you, or and by default, indirectly you. Like I know you're amazing, and now that I've gotten more in tune with this understanding, like I'm sorry, okay. And so I'm walking my dog through the neighborhood, and we're going by. We pass like a church as we go through the neighborhood walk, just a regular, I don't know, there's Lutheran church or something. And so as I'm walking by the church, I see the light was coming through that morning, particularly nice through the window panes, and so it does look beautiful. And I'm kind of feeling bad because I'm like, and so I said, out loud, Jesus, I'm sorry. I want you to know I'm sorry. The negative things I said about Christianity, I love you. Thank you for all you do for humanity. Thank you. And I'm just trying to kind of like apologize and express gratitude to Jesus. Okay. literally, like as I say that out loud, two white doves come out of the tree, which I hadn't seen, and land on the street or on the sidewalk directly in front of me and my labradoodle, my labradoodle Teddy. And they literally just come out of the tree and land right there, two perfectly white doves. And I'm like, oh, wow. Well, thank you, Jesus. I appreciate you. Gratitude. And both birds fly up, and there's a sign in front of the church, like service, whatever this time, this and that. And then on the bottom, it says, practice gratitude. And they fly over and land on the sign that says practice gratitude. And so, like, it was just like, here I'm having this moment trying to connect with Jesus. White doves come down, like, right when I say that, and go over to the gratitude. And I'm just like,
Oh, looks like you
and
connected.
I felt like he was like standing right there, like laughing. And And so that's actually happened more than once where like I feel like I need to say something out loud about Jesus. And my wife's with me one time and the same thing happened. A
Nice.
white dove comes out of the tree out of nowhere and like landed on the street in front of us right when I said that. And she's like, are you kidding me? We have that kind of stuff happen with hummingbirds all the time too, where we'll be talking about something and then they'll like buzz us. Like literally, my wife and I will be holding hands walking, and the hummingbird will like buzz between our two ears, you know? But it's always like synchronistic right when like I say make some statement or she says some
Yeah.
comment, and it was like I felt like the universe was validating what was just said,
Oh, I love that. I love that. That brought tears to my eyes when you first started telling that story about Jesus and him being there with you. That's amazing. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? That
Yeah.
it, and I'm learning, and I know you know this, Sandy, too, is that's our natural state.
Yeah.
It really is. And so the other is not natural.
Yeah.
Not being able to be in tune with the universe and not seeing that the universe is in tune with us, and we're just not paying attention, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Because the universe is always talking to us. Spirit's always talking to us.
Yeah.
Just depends
I feel
on
like
if we
between
want to pay attention.
the
Huh?
animal messengers and the number patterns,
Yeah.
if you right there just open yourself up to like angel numbers and like animal messengers,
Yeah.
like it's amazing how many little things will happen. You turn around 444.
Right.
Oh, like I really hope I'm going to have enough money for this. Oh, I know the universe is abundant and always provides. You walk around the corner 888. You're like, oh, perfect. the,
Infinity.
the,
Infinity.
the, yes.
1111. I get that all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
111, 1111. Yeah. And I wake up in the middle of the night, 444, 333. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. It's yeah, and like you said, the more you pay attention, the more it happens. These synchronicities happen.
Hmm.
It's natural. David Wilcock wrote the book, The Synchronicity Key, which is
Yeah.
a really good book. Have you read that one?
I've skimmed it. I haven't read the whole
Oh,
thing,
okay.
but yeah,
Yeah,
I like David Wilcock a lot. He's put out
me
some great
too.
information, and
Mm.
when you really start, there's I highly recommend a book um called Archangels of Magic.
Mm,
So if you haven't read that one,
I
try
haven't.
Archangels of
Okay.
Magic. I got really into like we are co-creators of this reality, and we've all been given like this amazing gift to like have this experience where like just about anything's possible,
Yeah,
and half of us never even try to use that because we don't know it's possible.
right.
It'd be like being given like here's like everything you ever wanted, and like here's like the exact details to get it, and they left the book next to you, and like the kids were distracted watching TV and nobody picked up the book. It was like
Yes.
so every
I
now and
know. Yeah.
yeah, but I really got into the like speaking with the spoken word and like the vibrational, like by putting my heartfelt intention into something while also speaking it out loud.
Hmm.
It puts it, like, again, you don't control everything, but you can influence it. And
Hmm.
when you keep putting these positive influences out, all of a sudden, and you're worthy of things, and you take the time to like sit down and visualize you already experiencing and having what you want and feeling it and tasting it and seeing it. And, we wanted to go on a trip to Maui. And so we were sitting there and I was like, okay, I had the wife and kids, like we all shut our eyes and we sat there and like imagine the sand on our beach, in between our feet and how warm it's going to feel. And imagine when we jump in the water and we go snorkeling and this and that, and then a series of events happens and all of a sudden like I get like a bonus at work and like just then we check the Costco packages and there's like an extreme deal and all of a sudden like it like came together. Oh,
That's
in a
awesome.
matter of like 2 weeks, it like came together.
Yeah, when you're in the flow, that's what
Yeah.
happens. That's being in
The,
the flow. Have you heard of
yeah.
Damon Brand? Damon Brand?
I've heard him before. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he writes books like that, and Archangels of Magic might be one of his books. It sounds familiar. Um,
Maybe.
yeah, because there's a little tiny book called, God, what is it? Magic of Money or something like that. I forget.
Yeah.
Little tiny book. And if you want to manifest money real quick, buy that book.
Yeah.
And it's just really little. And you work with a spirit named, oh gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, it works. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
it's, yeah. Are you gonna look him up? Um, anyway, it's really good. And
Yeah.
he's got books like that with Archangels of Magic, 32 Angels of Manifestation, and working with
Hmm.
them, and it works. If you
Yeah.
if you work with it and you stay committed to it and dedicated to
Hmm.
the rituals that he puts out, that kind of thing, it works.
It does. And
Uh-huh.
that's what's amazing. Me and my friends, I have a couple of friends that are like school teachers and they're great guys. But one of them, I'm very into like the spiritual things. Obviously, my experience is talking, and I talk all the time about manifesting and creating and all these different things. And he's a little bit more scientific and, nuts and bolts and that kind of stuff, scientific
Uh-huh.
about stuff. And I always go back to, hey, every single, scientific study that they do, they have the control group and they use placebos. And placebos consistently in every scientific experiment ever come through as working. And why does a placebo work? Because the person thinks it works. Just them taking a
Yes.
sugar pill, thinking it's something that's going to cure this, and then that actually got cured. And it goes to show how much of it is actually in our heads. It's our program. You believe you're sick. How many times everybody knows the person who all they talk about is how they're sick all the time? My
Yes.
back hurts,
I
this
know,
hurts, my
right.
back, this, that, that. You're like reinforcing it. Then you're telling everybody along the way.
You
And they're
are.
conscious co-creators as well.
And
So
yeah. So
instead
go
of just
ahead. I'm
one
sorry.
person, instead of just one person sitting there thinking you're bad, now 35 people at your work all think you have a bad back. And that reinforces your bad back.
In your matrix.
In the
In
matrix.
your
Yeah.
matrix. Yeah. Mm.
And so I swear I've had people who just by telling, like, I even tell my kids, my wife's like, well, Andy, if they're actually sick, they have to be able to tell us. I'm like, I know, but like when you
No,
start
they
to
don't.
feel sick, and the moment you say, man, I'm so thankful my body's healthy, my immune system's strong, and I have the power of rejuvenation and regeneration, I'm so thankful my body heals itself rapidly.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
just by saying that out loud,
Yes.
and then like I like make a conscious point of work when you walk into work, even if you don't feel good, to say out loud, man, I feel amazing today, my body feels healthy. So now 10 other people at work are like, hey, yeah, her body's feeling really healthy today. Like
Yeah.
put it to power, like with conscious intention
What's
you
that
can manifest.
catchphrase? Words to power, power to
Yeah.
words, or something like that. I forget. Okay, so I pulled up. I know it's amazing because that's how we create, and
Yes.
it doesn't. The universe doesn't care whether we create illness or whether we create health.
Yeah.
We're creators. We're co-creating all the time, and the universe will
Yeah.
give us what we're co-creating, what we're creating. So yes, it is Damon Brand. One of the
Yeah.
books is, and it's the one, I guess it's the most recent that he wrote, Angels of Magic, and it's Magick. But
Yeah.
the book I was talking about, he has tons, and I have lots of his books. Is called
Mhm.
the Magical Cash Book,
Oh, there you go.
and it's just this little tiny book. I used to give it when I had in-person classes. I would give this book out to
Hmm.
people. And then there's Wealth Magic, Then there's chaos magic, 72 sigils of power. The one I worked with was the 72 angels of magic. And I actually
Hmm.
I was working with an angel, um, what was her name? Oh gosh. Anyway, but anyway, I got her voice. I was working with her and doing the ritual with her every day, and you have to do it for like 2 weeks or something. And it's
Hmm.
fun. It was fun to do it. I got her voice on recorder,
Hmm.
and she's
Yeah,
not an angel I would ever work with before. And I got her voice.
that's
Gosh, I can't
awesome.
remember what her name is. Um, this was a long time ago. This is like 10 years, no, 8 years ago. But yes, that kind of stuff does work. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, and I'm sure there's people watching the show. They're like, hey, I want to connect to my soul family or this group or that group or whatever. Like, use that same co-creative stuff before you're
Yes.
going to bed at nights, right? You lay there, you do your nightly, your gratitudes, or
Mm-hmm.
you express. You got to say out loud everything you're thankful for, because as everything comes in, you got to validate it, right? I'm thankful that I'm so abundant and wealthy, and large sums of money come to me all the time. I'm so thankful I have a house, and my family's healthy, right? Just validate all these things that are good in your life. But then as you're going to bed, like, put your intentions out, like, I'm so thankful that with ease I remember my dreams and I am able to lucid dream at night. I'm so thankful I remember my soul family connections, and that when my angels and guides come to me, I can retain that experience at this lower density level. I'm so
Yeah.
thankful I naturally, what I mean? Like, use it to your
And
with
use it
just with
in
intention.
present tense. And
Yeah.
gratitude is the highest. Love and gratitude are the highest frequencies
Yeah.
that we can attain in
Yep.
this. Right. Yeah. So being grateful in present tense tells the universe, oh, well, you're in that. You're already
It's already
you're
happened.
already vibrating at that frequency. So let's give you more of that.
Yeah.
Um, Another book here that's really good is, I was just real quick. Now, Words of Power, because you talked about using that kind of language in words, how powerful our words are. Words of Power is a really good
Yeah.
one too. Yeah, uh, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you're into Damon Brand, because I was into him for quite a while. And manifesting my business and things like that is how I was working with it. A
Hmm.
successful business, and here I am. It works.
It does.
Yeah, in my academy, manifesting my academy and things like that. That's what I was working with the angels of
Hmm.
manifestation with. There's another book he has is Angels of Alchemy.
Hmm.
Really,
Yeah.
really good stuff.
Now,
Very
have
cool.
have you seen your guardian angel? Have you had an experience? I've been introduced to my guardian angel, and I do not retain the name for some reason. I'm bad with names anyway, just in life, and this is where I got to change my words. In the past, I've been bad with names, but now
Yeah.
I'm getting really good with names.
There
But
you go. There you go. Yes.
yeah, yeah, change your words, change your life. But
Hmm.
so I'm I am really good with faces. I always remember faces, and so remember seeing and having come. I feel like I have one main guardian angel, and then there was like two little cherubim, like little guardian angel, little guys above him. So I felt like there was three angels that were working with me like all of the time, in addition to me going to Michael, going to Raphael, or going to
Hmm.
like different ones. But then I've also felt like I've had Ariel come to me a lot. And to be quite honest, I'm not sure if the Ariel I'm working with is an angel Ariel, or if it's like one of the Pleiadian guides that I'm working with named Ariel,
Yeah.
or something like that. It gets a little tough to retain who's what sometimes.
Yeah. And the frequencies are sometimes very similar, right? Because
Yeah.
and the only angel I've retained memory of is Michael. And he's
Okay.
actually even told me in out of body experiences where he didn't look like an angel with wings, but and I felt like it was, that he was a guide or some kind of a guide for me. And he's standing there like a person, like a dude, very, very gorgeous looking dude,
What
and
color
I
was his hair?
Uh, his hair was dark.
I've seen him multiple times with black hair and piercing eyes.
Yeah.
But then there was a time where I saw him where I felt like he had blonde hair. But then that might have been another angel. I just misinterpreted who was what.
Yeah.
I don't
Who
know.
knows? I don't
Yeah.
know. But the only reason I knew he was called Michael is because I asked him if he was what his if his name was this other being I thought it was. He goes, no, no. Um, he says, you can call me Mike. And he came to me at least 3 times where he told me his name was Mike.
Mm.
And I work very closely with Michael. He's come to me in the form of a person, a messenger that way
Hmm.
when I needed him, and just to let me know that he's there. So as far as
Yeah.
my guardian angel, I don't have any recollection of, not that I haven't seen him or her or whoever,
Yeah.
in my travels, but I didn't recognize them as my, guardian angel. Now I have seen angels in my outer bodies and heard that music, that angelic music.
Hmm.
One of my very first experiences was when I was learning how to go out of body consciously, was where after my dad passed, I just projected to out in front of my mom's place, and I'm being told to look up into the sky, and I look and I see what looks like, I think, is a V formation of geese
Uh-huh.
type of formation, and then I hear this beautiful angelic music, and I have the zoom in vision like you were talking about.
Hmm.
These are angels.
Hmm.
They're angels flying over me, and I could see them in close. I don't know, maybe 20 feet, 30 feet, if at the most, is how I could see them. And I got this really strong impression that it was my dad who sent them for me to,
Uh-huh.
just to give me some loving.
Yeah.
So that was my
That's
first experience
awesome.
of angels in an out of body experience. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I've had a couple of it took me a while. There was like some unworthiness that I had to
Mhm.
overcome
Yeah.
just from childhood and things that happened and I don't know. I just had to I didn't feel worthy for angels to like talk to me. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like I had to really overcome some stuff when I was a kid, but I felt like multiple times they came to me, and I had specifically when I was a kid one time when I'm like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old. I'm sleeping. It's one of those like all of a sudden I'm in another realm and I don't know where I'm at. And there was this I don't know. I was flying upward, and all of a sudden I'm standing, and I don't know if I said this last time, but I'm standing and there's this like rock outcropping, and it almost looks like something out of like Athens, Greece or something. There's these like
Mm-hmm.
white big columns, and this old structure. And there's as I look over, there's like these three giant, and I mean giant, like hundreds of feet tall, um, like archangels. And one of them is like glowing more blue, and that was Michael, and there was one that was green, and it was actually bigger, and that was Raphael, and then I saw Uriel, which was had more of a red tint, and he had blonde hair, and they were all there, and there was these smaller angels that were coming up and to them on either side, like they were coming up to like get orders, and then they were like taking off to go like be
I love
assigned
that.
for what to do. And like they were all coming up to these three, like all these little angels, these three. And so I'm like a fly on the wall, like seeing this from a distance, like, oh my gosh. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing visually, because it looked like one of those like Rembrandt 17th century paintings where they're like with
Wow.
their knight's armor and the wings and the whole, like, I mean, I visually was seeing that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was really overwhelmed. And then there's this moment where like everything stopped, and like all three of them turned over and looked at me, which caused all the other angels that were coming up and down to them to stop and look over. So like this whole wave of like things like look over, all of a sudden you realize everyone's looking at you, and you're like, oh shit, am I supposed to be here? Like, And then I woke up. But like they would have these things where they were like kind of like wanting me to know I was a part of that. I was a part
Oh,
of them. But then like every time it happened, I had this like I always thought I was a fly on the wall, and then all of a sudden they would all turn and look at me. And that happens a lot with my galactic experiences
mhm.
where I've seen faces of different beings where I'm just watching this scene on like a spaceship, and all of a sudden like everybody stops and one turns and looks at me and I'm like, oh shit. I don't know if you've had that, but that
I
happens to me a
have,
lot.
but I'm usually in the first person. But I have had that. Uh, but I'm usually in the first person. I'm interacting with them usually, not always, but
Yeah.
usually. I had an experience just a couple of days ago where I have to know if you've seen these types of beings, where I've never seen one in my experiences where I'm looking around and I can see I'm in a ship because we're flying or moving pretty quickly over a planet.
Mhm.
I don't know what the planet is, and I'm in my mind, and I can't see the person I'm with, but I know I'm sitting here with a person and a being, and I in my mind, and we're having a conversation, and I'm like, oh, but I'm aware of Sharon, me, there, and we were talking about this earlier, how we will be in a parallel type of being, self, right? Another
Yeah.
self of our, I feel like that might have been what it was. And so I'm looking around and I'm saying, oh, are we in a ship? And he says, yes, a male. He says, yes. And we're very close. And then, and when I can't see someone's face, I start to feel around on them with my hands, and it kind of helps me bring them into view. And so I'm feeling around because I can't see his face, but I can hear him and I can see very, very clearly. And I feel a bald head. And I'm thinking this is my mate there, right? Okay. Um, who I project to a lot. And we go off on all kinds of journeys. And I'm feeling that he has a bald head and it's very soft. I'm thinking, because we're communicating telepathically always. And I said, why do you have a bald head? And, and as soon as I say that, I see him and his head and face are cobalt blue,
Mm.
cobalt, dark blue. And his eyes are bright green.
Mm.
And, and I'm like, um, shocked and like stunned a little bit. So it brings me back to where I don't have vision anymore, but I still am there and I still feel um around feel him, but I can't see his face. After
Mhm.
that, then I think I overlaid human on him. Have you
Mhm.
seen any of those beings that are cobalt blue, but they're human? Oh, and his skin was textured, like
Yeah.
a texture with it.
A lot of I've seen those ones. There's actually, if you've ever, I don't know if you've watched any of the Marvel comic movies. There's
Hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love those. Yeah.
In the Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a couple of blue beings like that. There's one guy, Drax. He's like blue skinned. He's kind of buff, but then he has the lines on him, almost like instead of where there would be tattoos, they're actually like lines in the skin.
Oh yeah, him. Yeah.
So
So he's the big buff
he's a
dude,
big,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
But the beings that I've seen weren't big and buff like that. They were more lean, but they had like the lines on their skin like that.
Okay.
And so I feel like there's, well, obviously there's a lot of beings out there and a lot of
Totally.
different dimensional levels, but I feel like there's definitely like a group from Sirius that are like blue beings that are blue skinned. Then there's like a vegan, or is it Vega?
Hmm.
Like a
Vegas
vegan
system. Hmm.
that has like blue beings that
But
have like
dark,
a
that
blue
dark
skin.
blue, because I've seen the
Yeah.
depictions of the light blue, and I've
But then
actually
there's,
seen light blue in my photos, but
yeah.
I haven't seen that cobalt dark blue before.
See, I've seen more like just blue glowing beings that are like Elohim beings.
Okay.
Um, but then there's also, what was I going to say? There was also another group. There's like the Arcturians, all kind of, a lot of them look very similar, but I've seen golden Arcturians. I've seen
Hmm.
like pale green ones. I've seen like purple ones, but I feel like there's blue ones too that are that
Okay.
same. So it just depends. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen myself as a purple being before, and I was with a
I
group of purple beings, and we were going on a rescue mission.
I've seen myself as a purple being. I've seen
Mhm.
myself as like a smaller, like 3 foot tall, like golden, literally shimmering gold skinned Arcturian that
Wow.
had like one of those like collars that kind of go up and around, and then like a golden really, I mean, it looked like a party dress, golden shimmering
Hmm.
like cape thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Like a robe kind of thing.
a robe,
I've seen
and
those. Yeah.
he has a little. I've had a couple of beings. One of them, there's a blue, small, like 2.5 foot tall, little miniature, like Andromedan guys that have. I think Alex Collier talks about these guys that have like a little staff in their hand that they have like a little mini staff that's like what you think is like a wand or a staff, but it has like some kind of crystals come off of it,
Oh,
and they
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
like I just remember one of the guides one time I didn't know what he was saying, and he was looking at me and he was like shaking this thing like this, and I was like, "What?" I thought he was mad at me, but then he was like, it was like almost like a blessing he was doing, like he was
Oh,
like doing this energy thing on me, but I didn't, I feel like I've come awake sometimes and my guides are like, hey, we're going to put you down here and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. Just all of a sudden you're there and you're like, where am I? What's going on? And it's like a constant, like my guides have been to like, focus on your breathing, stay calm, because sometimes my initial reaction is to be startled.
right.
And then I have to, and my startledness can affect what's happening
It
when
does.
you're on these multi-dimensional levels and they're trying to like kind of, I don't know, they the benevolent, the good guys that are trying to help us or do some kind of a upload or check on us or whatever. When we're connecting with them, like I feel like I really need to. It's taken a while from when I was a kid because my initial reaction always to be scared was to just to like focus on my breathing, and all of a sudden I'd calm and I'd be like, oh hey guys, and I'd be fine. But a
Yeah.
lot of times that initial reaction is like, where am I? What's going on? Oh my god, what's this thing in my face?
Panic. Yeah.
Panic, And then a couple of times I realized that that thing in my face was me, like coming to like my human body was here, my consciousness went up and put on that suit so I could go on the ship, you know.
That's
I
funny.
I was scaring myself.
That's funny. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I had an experience recently, this morning or last night or not before, I can't remember, where oh, I know what it was. My yeah, okay, I wasn't lucid in a dream, but it was a very real dream, right? And and the male being was telling me in my ear, I didn't recognize who he was, twin flame, whatever, my mate on the other side saying, I love you. He kept saying it in my ear, I love you, and go to saying this year, I love you, I love you. And I think they're always trying to wake us up, right?
Yeah.
I love you. And I said, you don't even know me. And then I'm like, afterwards, coming back here, I'm thinking, oh, I'm sorry. They talk about patience, right?
Oh yeah. That's probably why they said they probably know I'm impatient. So they sent me down here because they're like, you're not going to be able to handle up here on the ship. These guys forget everything every single night. And then we come and tell them, and then they forget it all again. It's really mind numbing. But you're going to
Infinite.
do better just forgetting everything.
That's so funny. I know it's right. It's got to be. And I always apologize. I'm sorry I wasn't awake. I'm so sorry I wasn't awake. I didn't recognize you, or I did, and it's like they try so hard to wake us up.
Well, I've had